everybody. Welcome to Wisdom from North. I'm Jannecke, and today I'm here with transformational teacher and healer Victor da Ponte. Hello, Victor. How are you doing? Welcome.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. I'm doing very good. Very good. Thank you, Jannecke.
So you are the creator of Mindflex, which is a creative or a powerful system for deep transformation, and it involves stretching to unlock the life force energy. And you say it's actually a way of bending reality, and it's a system that you have developed through the years after having worked with a lot of clients. And when you came to me with that method, I was, I'm always curious about new methods and ways that we can transform and work with wounds and the unconscious programming that we have as adults. It seems like that's the case, that we, have all these programs that have just that are just running in the background. And I think there's many ways to roam, and some will fit some people and some won't fit somebody. But I think it's so good to know about a lot of methods.
Sure.
And your method really, it resonated with me because I thought it was logical. So can you tell us a little bit about what Mindflex is all about?
Well, Mindflex is really uniting the power of the mind and adding the power of the body that is unlocked through stretches, so that it actually, just simply put, it supercharges your mind. It supercharges your intentions. And as you know, the way to transform is to hold an intention, right? And so the stronger we can make it, right? The power, we all know about, most people know about the power of intention. So the stronger our intention can be, the more powerful, the quicker we can transform and in essence, bend our reality, bend our mind. And really bending our reality really just happens through transforming our thoughts. So Mindflex is a way to really access all of our resources, right? For many, many years, I've used the power of mental focus, right? This I realized after, I discovered that stretching your legs can help you stretch your mind, help you overcome a limiting belief and stretch beyond it, right? Then after I realized that actually works, like stretching your legs can actually stretch your mind, because actually the body and the mind are one. That's when I realized that we were actually using the power of the body as well, not only the power of the mind. For the last 20 years, for the last 8 years, I've been a full-time teacher and empowerment or transformational guide, and it was all mental focus, right? You may feel into the body and feel the resistance there and be present with it. But if you think about it, you're just putting your mental focus on it, even if you're focused on the body. But now when we include the stretch while simultaneously focusing on what you want to overcome and the place you want to get to, then you add the element of the energy that's moving through the body to that. And so it just makes it a completely different game, and the depth of the release becomes, quickened, significantly, very significantly.
So you notice with your clients when you started this that they had faster result. I'm curious
Absolutely.
about how you developed this, how it came to you, because I can imagine that you were working with clients and there was something missing, or since you all of a sudden found this.
Right. Well, the way that it happened was that I was actually working with people. I was actually teaching how to allow the body to go into balance. You see, I had this vision because I was at one point about 3 or 4 years ago, I had a very deep dive into darkness in myself, right? I had this pocket of depression, and these suicidal thoughts came. It was like, what if I could just end this? It would be the easiest thing. I don't want to continue to experience this, right? So I had this want to end this thought, and I want to end myself. I want to end me. And I thought to myself, well, I could end me in here. I could end myself in here, right? I can end the part of me that was suffering, right? And I was like, all right, instead of like trying to forge through it and try to push through it like I normally have, and I was doing it myself. I was teaching people how to really just push through things, right? I was like, what if I stopped trying to push through this, right? My body naturally wants to put an end to a suffering inside of me. It's happening, without my say, okay, now I'm going to be depressed. It just happens, right? So what if I gave it permission? I was like, you know what? If you want to end me, I told my mind, if you want to end me, I'll be happy to oblige. I'd be happy to join you. I want to end me too. Right? So what happens is I'm not going to act it out outside, just internally. So I let my self-aggression be channeled. And see, the problem is that we've been indoctrinated into a division with ourselves and with our natural inner drives. All it was, and I let it happen, and all it was, that aggression, I let it flow, and then poof, the source of the aggression went away. And all of a sudden I was like, well, wait, there was no big deal here, right? It was just, I was just not seeing, a way out. All I did was allow things to flow inside of me. In other words, the good old wisdom teaching, accept what is, let it flow, let it go, and everything will be all fine. So I sort of took that little step further, and I was like, yes, right? If I have this self-aggression, I'm not only going to accept it, I'm going to celebrate it in a sense, and I'm going to join this, right? Because I'm tired of fighting it, right? So out of that came sort of this model like, nothing is wrong inside of you, right? We're in a body that is just trying to adapt, right? Not just keep us safe, but actually fully adapt. That's what it wants. It wants to eliminate all the pain and sort of go towards the pleasure. That's the basic dynamic. It's like if we're experiencing a pain inside of us, we want to eliminate naturally. It's instinctively we want to get rid of it. And so I was just teaching people how to do that, right? And allowing everything to flow. If there was anger, no problem. Open, be angry, right? And let it flow and let it serve you. In other words, it's like embracing the shadow, letting everything serve you inside of you, because ultimately that's all it really, our body's not against us, right? It's just trying to find balance, an inner balance. It's like the homeostasis mechanism of the subconscious mind, right? The physiologically, we have this self-balancing drive, right? Physiologically, it's called a drive towards homeostasis, towards balance. Well, it happens the same thing in the mind. So I was allowing people just to be. In other words, taking acceptance and letting go and allowing things to flow to just a little bit higher level, right? A little bit more unified level of conscious awareness. And out of that, I started having people, well, where do you feel it in the body? Like, oh, I feel it in the chest, I feel it in my stomach. I was like, okay, well then turn and let this inner drive that's just trying to find balance, let it flow. So turn your trunk, bend over, flex, or stick out your chest and just let it all flow out, right? I was having people do that because I noticed it tended to help. But then I remembered that, I realized that what we're doing is we're opening the life force channels in the body, and so we're gaining balance faster. And so then I remembered this system where it uses sustained stretches to get the chi to flow throughout the body. And so I had this crazy idea, why don't I stretch my leg because it makes the chi flow through the body, and in that way I will help accelerate this balancing, attempt, right, in the body. I'm joining it. I know what I want to bring balance, in the area I want to bring balance to. I'm focused on that. And why don't I stretch? And of course, the first thing in my mind was like, okay, now you're really desperate. Now you're crazy. You're going to stretch your leg and you're going to break free from a block that you feel up here. It's like, where do you get this? I was like, but I have this endless curiosity and this endless passion, this passionate, pursuit of, finding the quickest and the most powerful way to really eradicate the blocks that are holding us from very deep inside. You see, because for 20 years, I learned the game, the mental game. In my early 20s, I did nothing but be in spiritual retreats for a good 7 years, almost every once a month for about 30 hours. I was volunteering, going into spiritual retreats. So I learned the power of the mind, and it was extremely powerful. I'm not saying, oh no, it's not. No, all the contrary. The mind is extremely powerful, but also there seemed to be like I was never able to get deep enough or get enough a satisfactory sort of liberation. It was never, it's like I've always wanted more, right? So I'm always searching for more. So I've had the mental game for 20 years, and I've mastered it, and I was still searching for more, and so that's how it happened. Can I just
ask you before you explain further the Mindflex? I'm curious to hear, since you had been so mastering in a sense your mind and everything, and you really believed in that. Do you know why you went into depression still? Because I'm very interested in depression. Many people are there. I've been there myself. Even though you had all these tools, what happened?
Well, it was just a pocket. That depression that ran in my genes, right? I had family members who've suffered from depression a long time, so I relate it to just having this genetic sort of disposition. How do you say that word? Well, this genetic sort of makeup. It's like that. I had this pocket of depression inside of me. I didn't know where it came from. It literally felt like this void, this pocket. Like it basically, it was just sort of like a sense of doom and gloom and just hopelessness. And that's what it was. It was just this pocket inside of me. How it came, I don't know. It was there.
Like it didn't help to control your mind. Like that's what I'm curious about. Even though everything you knew about the mind, that didn't help you in that situation.
It did help me in that situation by simply embracing it just a little bit deeper than I normally would, right? I made it right. I made the depressing, self-destructive energies inside of me. I didn't say, oh, you know what? I'm just going to love you and embrace you. I went further than that. I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. Yes, do what you got to do. I'm going to just join you because I know that you're just serving me, right? So I took it to that level. So at that moment, I didn't use Mindflex. I just came to a realization that our body is just always trying to serve us. So,
because I think
the mind, it's powerful.
Yeah, because I think that's interesting because many are on the path and still we can go up and down, and I think it's important to talk about that it's, even though we have all these tools, we can get a depression and we can really meet challenges, and it can be difficult to use those tools, but they will help us. But it doesn't mean that life is a dance on the clouds. Like I interviewed a yogi the other day, and she said, I'm doing yoga every day and I have back problems, and people say, you shouldn't have back problems because you're doing so much yoga. And but it's still, these are tools, but it doesn't mean that it's like super happiness all the time. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. But it did help you, as you said, because you embraced it, you went deeper, you really said, you invited the depression to come, basically, and embraced it. Yeah, that's what.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right.
Absolutely.
And what did you find there? What happened then? Did it release, or was that when you needed something deeper and you found Mindflex?
Well, no, it released, and then I just I had a sort of a different approach going forward at the time, and then that led to the question is, how can I accelerate then, this process of embracing and making the body mind right, instead of creating this division. How can we allow, whatever wants to happen inside? If you're feeling depressed, well, let it go with it. If you're feeling angry, go with it. Of course, within a meditative state, right? Not out there. That's the whole point, is that we bring it to balance so that when we act, we're not crazy.
Right.
So that led to the question of, well, then how do we accelerate it, right? And so one thing led to another. I started doing movement, and then the stretching came. And that was when it was like, oh my God, how is that possible, right? How can I how is that? How did I just why did I just feel like I released a psychological tension through my leg? What in the world was that? And that's how Mindflex was born. But I was just telling you the story, like how it came to be was just approaching it just like and it happened through it all happened through a crisis. Like even like 4 years prior to that depression, I had my first real deep depression, and I had the same suicidal thoughts. And then what emerged out of that was, sort of like awakened consciousness, like our source consciousness, that we really are the source of our thoughts. Like, no thought can define us. No thought can contain us. We really are the source of our experience. And so I had this, in that depressive moment, I had another deep awakening moment where a voice spoke to me, basically my own consciousness, I suppose. It basically said, touch yourself, like deep inside, like, where are you? And then I realized, well, I can't. It's like you can't put your finger on yourself inside of you. Where am I really? And if you try, you just go deep into the empty quantum space, and that's where that's where I ended up, into this quantum field. And then out of that emerged what I call quantum reprogramming. So I've come up with many different modalities, right?
I just want to say that
each crisis served me greatly. Each crisis, something's always emerged out of it.
There's a quite delay here, so I think we're like talking, interrupting each other. But I just want to say that I'm really grateful that you're so open. I just wanted to say thank you. That's really brave, and I think it's so important. And I actually think it's part of a transformational teacher's journey to really go through difficult stuff, because how can you teach when you haven't really experienced what you're speaking about yourself? I was just, I'm training to become a mindfulness teacher now, and we were talking about walking the talk and talking the walk. And that is a really value to me. That is really important. So I just want to say that I appreciate that. I think it's wonderful. So tell us then a bit more about what happens when you then stretch your leg. Like, how is the process actually?
So the process is very simple, right? It's you stand up and you bend forward, and like you stretch the back of your legs or hamstring, like reach for your toes, and you stay there for a little while. And as you do, you focus on what you want to align to mentally. Like, some people could say you can go through affirmations. I say they're more like you're commanding or directing yourself, and directing yourself as you are in that position. And what happens is that a lot of energy start to flow, right? And so after you stay there for 2, 3, typically about 5 minutes, right? You stay down there. What happens is that all that energy that you're mechanically unlocking, you're consciously using towards a specific intention, right? And it just accelerates everything, right? And it accesses the root level of whatever resistance you have, right? I take people through a simple process where I have them just stand up, reach down towards their toes, and just see how far they go down and how it feels, right? Without thinking of anything. And then I have them to repeat the process and have them think about any worry or fear or doubt or anything that they're unhappy about in their lives, and then reach down. And what happens is that they can't reach all the way down without having a lot more discomfort, because the body and the mind are one. So there's the constriction in our subconscious mind. When we think about it, it literally manifests throughout the entire body. And so what we can say that we're doing on a physical, like, if you look at it as sort of like a release technique, in a sense, you're stretching out the psychological tension that is also, imbued throughout and permeates the entire body. So if you're stretching your leg while you're thinking about what's a limiting thing, or something that's really constricting inside of you, you're literally going to stretch it out. And so that's what happens. And so that's the process. It's literally connecting the body and being aware that the body and the mind are one. So because we can stretch and nothing psychologically shifts. But if we think about something to shift psychologically as we stretch, and the recognition that stretching the leg, it's at this moment, because I'm thinking about stretching my mind as well. It happens, right? Because, you know, it is a very humbling thing, you know, to realize how connected our body and our minds are, right? When I was doing this, for me it was humbling, because I was like, you know, it's great. It was just like this humbling, you know, shocking thing to me. And it can be for a lot of people. They're surprised.
Can you work with anything actually? You're saying you can do affirmations, but you can also think about worries or things you want to work with, or an area you feel like you don't have flow, for instance, relationships or money, or maybe health problems. So you focus on that while you're stretching.
Absolutely. So for example, like you can use it on anything. I used to be an EFT, emotional freedom technique, practitioner and teacher. I used to give little workshops. And EFT, it's sort of like a distant cousin to this, because they use they tap on points and they make the energy flow through, you know, by tapping on the points, like acupuncture. And I remember that you just use EFT for everything. Well, the same thing with Mindflex. You can use it for everything. Yesterday, I was working with a client, and he said he had this urge to smoke a cigarette. I was like, okay, before, you know, you run to get up, I want you to stand up. Just give me 2 minutes, and you're going to stand up, and we're going to get rid of that urge to smoke. And I had him flex forward just a couple of minutes, and he came back. I was like, how do you feel? He was like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm not feeling, I don't want to smoke right now. You know, so you can use it for that. You can use it for food cravings. You can use it to be happy to eat, you know, the healthiest food and not crave other food. So you could use it for anything any mental focus is going to help, you know, align you to. Anything that you know, see what the magic of the mind is that whatever we focus on, it starts to create it. It starts to manifest it, and their bodies start to mold itself around whatever we're holding. And so we're just accelerating the process by adding a mechanical force into it. So you can use it for everything. You can use it for depression, anxiety, worry, and then of course then you know, achieving things, you know, expressing yourself, moving beyond, just you name it, you know, whatever thing you want to overcome, or wherever you want to align to, you can use it to really move yourself forward in a very powerful way.
As with everything, I assume you have to do it, practice it again and again.
Yes, absolutely. I always encourage people to adapt this and use it in their daily habits, because, you know, we're still going to have ups and downs, right? We'll stop having ups and downs when we reconcile our expectations. When we reconcile our expectations and our needs, then those ups and downs, they cease to exist, because the only reason you have a down is because you were hoping something would happen and it didn't, and you're like, ooh, and you sink, you know what I mean? So it happens through so I work a lot on people, you know, addressing their hopes and wants and dreams, and realizing that everything that they could want really is inside. And so we reconcile these things inside. This is a very powerful practice. And yes, you have to do it daily, preferably, because, well, that's the wise thing to do, because life, we're going to have ups and downs. Life is sure to test us constantly, and actually not test us, but actually help us grow, I think, you know.
Right. And perhaps get things up in the light to see them, so we can release them and let go of a lot of things. I feel like life is about letting go all the time. I think that's like all I hear. Let go, let go, let go. And that's sometimes the hardest thing to do. So we can do this by ourselves, right? We don't need like a coach. Yeah. Okay. So just to see if I understood it correctly. So if I have an issue, like, for instance, I worry about money. Okay, for instance. So would I then, you know, bend over and then stretch, and then I would think about, or I would stretch first and see how far I get down. And then I would think about the money issue. And then, because we talked a little bit before, and you said it's important to have these measuring system. So I would feel like, how worried am I about money?
Yeah.
So let's say I'm like 10, like on money, like I don't have any
right.
money. So I would start there, and then I would stretch and think about the problems with my money while I'm stretching, right?
You're right.
And then I would just
Right.
stand there. Yeah, take us
So
through
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So exactly. So you would, and you can ask questions that are extremely powerful. You can just, am I, you know, you can even, like, while you're stretching, you can even ask yourself from 0 to 10, how worried am I? And then boom, the answer will come. And because really this is a game of putting your awareness on yourself. And because awareness is organizing, it brings order, and so it being in a flex position while you are aware. Like, so you're a mindfulness coach. You know the power of being mindful of something. It by nature, the nature of our consciousness and our presence brings order to things. And so simply asking the question of, okay, how worried am I, right? All of a sudden you open up, you become receptive to yourself. And the more self-aware you can be, and especially when you're when you're flexing and you're opening up your channels as you do that, then it just really just brings everything to balance even quicker than if you were just sitting there in meditation, right?
All right, Victor, we had some Skype issues there. Do you want to continue explaining?
Yeah, so basically, yeah, so if you have a worry, like you're worried about finances, right? You would flex forward, right? And allow yourself to relax, and then you can just go into the question to open up, become more receptive to yourself. You know, how worried am I from 0 to 10? And you get the answer. Oh, I'm like a 9. And all of a sudden when you do that, it really starts to be catalyzed and accelerated right on the moment just by asking the question. And then sometimes we can, because this is an art, right? Because it depends on how you're feeling at the moment, what comes up. So if a lot of worry comes up, just like thoughts. So oftentimes I tell people just to let that broken record play, right? Let it happen, let it flow. Maybe even speak it out. Maybe even say it, like, I'm really worried about X, Y, Z. Just allowing things to flow. In other words, letting go. The famous letting go. Just let it flow, right? So you can let things flow. If there's a lot of emotion there, like surrender emotionally, and you let it flow, and then you're still in the intention of getting beyond the worry, right? That's the most important. That's like the starting point of the whole process. It's like, where do I want to end up at? So you start with the end in mind, and then you go into that with the end in mind, and then you be where you are now, right? So if you're very worried, or if whatever the situation is, you sort of let that flow, and it starts to flow really quickly. And then you sort of go into the positive again. Like, I'm already there. Everything is fine. All my needs are beyond met, 100%, beyond 100% met, and, I'm financially liberated right now, and I'm extremely happy, and I'm celebrating it right now because it's done. It's already within me. So that's how we reprogram ourselves.
Okay, so you go from the worry. Oh, sorry. You go from the worry to the affirmations in a way.
Yeah.
All right. And how much should it hurt when we're stretching?
It will hurt. And the reason why it will hurt a lot, significantly more than if you're just stretching normally, is because you are tapping into the constricted patterns in your mind that really run, or really are found, or really are in your body. They're in your whole system. And so what's happened is the constriction of the tension, like in your mind, is literally being stretched. And really what's happening is alchemy is happening, right? You're actually forcing what really happens in transformation, which is the elimination or the breaking down of the present patterns to allow the emerging patterns through. So you're literally, one of the reasons why it hurts is because, a lot more than just stretching, is because you are literally you're just breaking down.
It's
stuff,
really
right?
Fascinating. Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Yeah.
That's what happens.
It's just connected. It's so beautiful. Yeah. So can you suggest, can we do any sort of stretching? Or is it a few that is more efficient?
Yeah. So if you think about what we're trying to do, what we're doing, what's the purpose what's the goal with the stretching is to open up as much life force energy so we can get on with it. So we can get on with the process of transforming ourselves and letting go and aligning and being there now and like creating that deep transformation. We're trying to get that as quick as possible, right? Because, well, why not? We want to get out of the pain and we want to get into flow and happiness and fluidity. And so is stretching my elbow like this going to release a tremendous amount of energy? It's going to release a little bit. Can I use it consciously? Yes, but it's not a whole lot. Where we can find most of the biggest channels, as it were, of life force that we can unlock is really through the legs. So the legs, especially the back of the legs and in the hip area, when we work with those, that is what really opens up our main channels and really allows a lot of life force through, right? You can, I've tested every possible stretch, even bending over backwards, but that's not very sustainable. So if you can do it, you could do it for a short period of time. And the reason why we use this stretching and the forward flexing, because we can stay there a longer time and allow that energy, take advantage of it and use it and let it work on you and let it work on you and let it work on you. Whereas, for example, stretching backwards, you can only stay there like 10 seconds and you're out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, makes
for example.
Sense.
So that's the reason why. So the legs, one can stay there and just, allow the energy, allow the alchemy just to happen, big time.
Do you notice when you've done, or do you say, sorry, do you notice when you're done, or do you say like 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or, is there a specific time that we should do it?
Yeah, well, typically, like in the beginning, one of the ways that I sort of, like, it really blew my mind is I went very aggressive one day, right, in this process. I went very, very aggressive and I pulled with everything I had because I was frustrated with something I wanted to break through. And then literally within like 30 seconds, I had one of the biggest breakthroughs I ever had. And so then I started teaching people that, but that's not sustainable. And it's not, most people are not going to resonate with that level of, just going for it like I used to call it, beast mode. I used to call it beast mode. I don't do beast mode anymore, right? We do very gentle. It's not necessary to go there. We do gentle, 5 minutes, right? And you don't have to go, how I was in the beginning, because you don't have to. Luckily, a lot of people were like, wow, this is incredible. But then I would ask them, did you do it? Like, no, I didn't do it. Why? I was like, I wonder why, because it was dramatic. It was like, too much, right? So we do 5 minutes, really you're not pushing it, right? You're just allowing gravity and you're allowing it to flow naturally and you're just taking the time. There's no rush. There's a cumulative effect in the energy. Another amazing thing about this that it was really unexpected is that after you do about 5 minutes, 10 minutes of this, like a whole lot of energy will be moving through your body, right? It'll be a lot of energy. And so afterwards, we can actually take advantage of it. And like you can literally feel it building up and you can put your hand on your heart or on your throat and it will still work really outside the stretch, which is a very unexpected thing. So we really are opening the channels, and then it's just circulating big time and like for a few minutes afterwards, you feel it a lot. Most people do.
I think it's so good to have, like I said in the beginning, different methods because many people are speaking about how important it is to notice your belief system, see what's there, and then change it with something else what you want to have working for you. But it's not always easy just to do with the mind, and some people are more physical. I think just some people need to do something physical while others don't. I'm curious, have you after doing this now for some time, have you read about it? I mean, you must have been curious if there's something similar out there.
I looked at all the stretching. I saw bioenergetics. They do some things they call grounding, but it's not the same awareness, right? They do want the energy to move, so it's sort of similar in that, but there's not the same awareness. And they do grounding, and they elicit a shake. So I couldn't. That would be something that would say, okay, well they're bending forward too, but it's not. And I've spoken to practitioners who are bioenergetic practitioners. I've searched, and plus I've been in the game full time. That's all I've done is search already. I've already searched all of the, before that, for the last 20 years, I've known all the methods to come out because this is my field. This is my life. So I've known all the methods. I've actually one time in a yoga class, I would take a yoga class and like many years ago, like 15 years ago, and they would do a little bit of affirmations during the process. And that would be something similar then, but it wasn't the same. It was not the same because you're going through poses. You're going through different poses. You're only staying there a couple of seconds, right? 15 seconds or so. And you're moving on through different poses. But it wasn't the awareness of that we're actually allowing the energy to work and supercharge our intentions. There wasn't that, right? Yeah. So it was different. It was similar. That was very similar. So it's not like, no one's done yoga and made affirmations. They have. I'm sure people do it all the time. But it's a little bit different because we're not going through poses. We're very conscious of what's actually happening. So we only need one stretch. We only need to do one stretch and just taking advantage of the life force energy that really accelerates everything.
It just makes sense to me. Yeah.
There isn't the life force energy awareness and the effect that it can have. So that's what I think that was missing, right?
Yeah, because intention is so powerful, and we know that yoga is so powerful and breath is so powerful, and like combining these things when we know everything is connected, nature is connected. Like I'm just so amazed how everything is connected all the time. Like, just think about synchronicities. What I think about is appearing. It's just even more connected that I even though I know it's connected, I'm just amazed all the time. And this is just another example of it. Like, wow, why not? That is brilliant. It's so logical. So your clients, like, have they noticed differences, them too? Like, have you had great results with this? Or
significant results. Like after I take people through a Mindflex session, I train them how to do it privately, one-on-one. I normally ask them, is it okay if I document this? Because, well, nobody knows about this. This is fairly new. Will you tell your experience? And everybody basically says the same thing after a nice, intense, about 25 minutes, 30 minutes is where you really experience a profound liberation. And everybody basically feels that, right? Like at the moment, they feel extremely liberated, right? Extremely liberated, light, just like their state or their emotions and their perceptions have altered. Like they don't feel a resistance. Now, I tell them you're still going to have ups and downs because right now you created a big breakthrough, and it's not like you're never going to lose it. It's never going to come back. Like what you got rid of is never going to come back, but something else may come up, right? So that is going to happen. So I encourage them to practice daily to continue opening themselves up. But people who had phobia levels, a fear, in one session they went from like a 10 to like a 2 or a 3 or sometimes 0. So it depends. Like people who have like really intense attachments, they go from like a 10 attachment to this needing to happen, or even finances, to like 0. They have absolutely no worry at all. So the effects are profound, and people afterwards, like stuff starts happening. They start moving forward. Like they tell me, like this one client, there are a lot of cases that come to mind, but one, she's been putting off like starting a retreat because she has the properties and stuff, and like she's been putting off like actually opening the center. And after the week after, she went ahead and started the process of opening this healing retreat center. And I mean, and stuff like that all the time. They start doing exercise that they've been putting off, right? They start losing weight. I mean, you just start moving forward, right? I mean, sort of like the little slogan I have it for Mindflex is the power to move you forward, because you can make significant forward progress every time you do. So I see people make significant steps forward, if they do it.
Wonderful. I was so happy to introduce this because, like I said, I think some methods work for some and some don't work for others, and there's no truth. I don't think like there's one true method. I think it's just so important that we have many methods, and that if one doesn't work, we try another. That there's always very many different tools that we can use and methods we can try.
Absolutely.
So how can people find you? Yes, if they want to work with you and get some more information.
Yeah, so they can go to Mindflex system, right, /program, and they could see, the offering, the explanation of Mindflex. I have over a dozen testimonials there, right? They can go to victordeponte.com and sign up to my newsletter. Yeah, so that's how they can do it. And you
also have a YouTube channel, right?
I have a YouTube channel. I'm not very active on it, but yes, I have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And they will see some of my old stuff, but if they want the new stuff, the Mindflex, they want something revolutionary, go to Mindflex system /program or visit victordeponte.com.
Wonderful. And I also saw you had a live Facebook video where you really went through it in detail.
Right. They can go to Mindflex at Mindflex Power on Facebook. And they'll have an introductory session, right?
Wonderful.
I'll take them through the process, show them how the body is connected, stretch normally, and then stretch while you're thinking of something, and you'll notice, like get tighter. And then I take you through the sort of initiation of Mindflex.
Wonderful, Victor. And you've taught me some, and I'm going to continue doing it. I think it was such a method that resonated with me. So thank you so much for coming onto my show, and continue, and good luck with your wonderful work.
I thank you, Jannecke, and you too. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you for watching, guys. Much light from Norway and the US. Bye-bye.